Hey, good evening. It's good afternoon, technically. Welcome to day 2, Sunday of Met Regatta's notebook. This is an entirely unscripted, unofficial review of the results of today's racing. And if you listened to the notebook yesterday, you'll know that I was due to be there in person. However, my commentary duties and my ability to review the racing from Lakeside was scuppered when my car broke down on the M1. So I've had a thoroughly enjoyable day, sat on my own, watching the live stream and crunching the numbers. Because, dear viewer, I am a rowing geek, and if you're a rowing geek too, then you'll like this. If you've watched Formula One, you'll know there's a guy called Ted Kravitz on Sky Sports, and he wanders around at the end of the day's racing, talking in much the same way as I am now. He didn't get the idea off me, I stole it from him. And rather than walking around Dorney Lake or another regatta compound, we're walking around the village I live in North Yorkshire. So enjoy the change of scene, and I hope to see you Riverside sometime soon. Day 2 at Met is, I said yesterday, Met is one of my favourite regattas. It's because it's the pointy end of the year. Normally, some of the big programmes go off on a cheeky training camp after Met and really concentrate on the run-in to both Henley Women's and Henley Royal Regatta. We've also got a little bit of Seville action, well, more than a little bit of Seville action. It's the World Cup going on in Seville this weekend, which means the Met is always an interesting regatta to see what's happening, to see who's building towards what, and what some of the interesting themes emerging are. So my aim, dear viewer, is to share that with you today. Today was a smaller entry, as is normally the case. Leander Club generally have gone to Banyoles for their pre-punchy season training camp. So we didn't see many Leander crews featuring. Brooks men were absent as well. And generally crews that raced on the Saturday have either been mixed up slightly. So today what I've tried to do, I find benchmark crews who have raced on the Saturday are also racing on the Sunday, and then tried to draw some inferences about what that means for some of the new combinations or crews that we've seen, because there's some interesting stuff. Cooler today, wind direction was comparable to yesterday, but a bit stronger in terms of across. So nothing massively different. But as you'll see, times were slightly different today. Men's coxless fours, and a larger entry than yesterday on the club side of the draw. So Championship and Club. Championship 12, Club 48. Not that we really know who is more eligible for the visitors and who's a Wyfold crew, but it just gives you an idea about who's kicking around. Oxford, Cambridge, Leander and Brooks all absent today. And for others, it was a case of racing different combinations. The time trial today was faster than the winning time yesterday from Cambridge. So well done, first of all, to Molesey. You were 6 seconds faster than Cambridge University's winning time yesterday. Thames, they were a touch faster as well. And they are the same combination as what raced yesterday, going by the draw. So they're something of a benchmark. And so were, going under a tree there, Commercial. Standing out to me was Durham, though. Okay, so from the time trial, 5:53.5, so 6 seconds back on the winners of the time trial, Molesey. And when we think of them finishing 4th in today's time trial, that suddenly stands out to me as a more positive result of where their 8 was finishing yesterday, because the 4s from Durham generally tended to be better performing. There was no Oxford, no Cambridge or Brooks, so I have crunched some numbers, dear viewer, based on the finals to try and tell you where I think they would finish. So stand by for a stat attack. Come the final, it was Thames A in a 6:05, so they were about 2% slower than yesterday, 1.3 seconds back to Molesey. Durham crossed the line in 6:13, so around about 12 seconds back on the benchmark crew of Thames, who were the same as yesterday, but also the St Andrews crew. So we've got a couple of points of triangulation. And if we worked on those times, they would finish middle of the B final yesterday, when there were more of the faster crews around. This is a coxless event. I don't know why they raced coxless versus coxed when the student event at Henley Royal is the Prince Albert for coxed. I'm sure there was a reason. So it's going to be interesting to see what Durham decide to do next, because middle of the B final is where the men's 8 finished yesterday as well. So having said I think their 4s are comparably faster, I was comparably proven wrong today. But this is the coxless event, not the coxed event. So I do get the feeling that Durham will be better off, comparably speaking, racing the coxed 4 in the men's event. That's just generally my sense, having seen Bucks, having seen elsewhere, and tracking things throughout the year. It will be interesting to see what Coach Fletcher does now. Next time I think we'll see them out will be Marlow, and then we might have a little bit more of an idea about where they're going to place their chips. Right, going on to the women's 8s. Quite a big entry again. Brooks women were present, but there was no University of London. Generally, the winning time was 6 seconds faster than yesterday's time trial, and the order was Thames, Durham. So the Durham women doing a stonkingly good job. They are still ahead of Brooks by around about 5 seconds today, and that seems to have been something of a bit of a trend we're seeing now. And the University of London crew weren't present today, but Durham had beaten them yesterday, and the margins roughly today suggested that they would have beaten Durham. Durham would have beaten University of London. So the Durham 8 also, in terms of the finishing order in the final, which went by the book with a finishing order of Thames, followed by Durham, was great to see. But also the Durham 8 closed the gap on those Thames boats. The Durham's women's 8s programme going strong. We don't know, sorry, I'm going through a little gate, so I appreciate my camera work is even more shonky than normal. We don't know who's coming over from the States and who might be racing from Europe yet, or indeed Australia. But Durham seemed to have a really strong women's 8 this year, and loving it, quite frankly. Loving that. Right, something of note, let's talk about Edinburgh women. So in the final, they went, let me try and understand my notes. So if you look at the comparable times today, it looks like the final time that they set would have put them 7th in the A final. They were in the B final, so yeah, these things aren't always directly a read across, but it's always interesting to see who from the B final has set a time which would have put them up with the top crews. And indeed, the time that they set would have put them comparable to Brooks A. So there must be something in the water in the north, because while Durham have only got a fast women's crew, so do Edinburgh. And let's see what happens with the Edinburgh women's crew in these last few weeks, as they can't remember the name of the loch they tend to head to, but it's pretty idyllic. If you don't follow them on social media, because they do this training camp. Is it Loch Oik? Just before Henley, Women's and Royal. It's one of the most idyllic places in the UK, and we'll see what they can do to find some more pace. I'm just going to kneel down and turn my page in my notebook as I walk around this lovely field of wheat. Right, a really significant factor I was looking to today was what was going to happen in men's coxed 4s. Big entry yesterday, similar size today, some of the different names, but the different name that was present today that was missing yesterday was University of Newcastle. and University of Newcastle men's programme has not had a desperately great 8 this year. Right, let me reframe that. In comparison to recent years, they're still a pretty bloomin' fast boat. However, their 4s appear to be going better than the 8. So I wanted to see what turned up today and how it went. Newcastle University Boat Club won the time trial today in a 5:55. This is over 1900 compared to Cambridge University's time yesterday of 6:03. So if we go off the approximation that today was about 6 seconds faster, which when you benchmark the times it seems to have been in the morning, Newcastle went 8 seconds faster than Cambridge, so would have done very well yesterday. So the Newcastle Coxed 4 clearly doing not bad. Also yesterday I made the comment around what was going to happen with Edinburgh, because a bit like Newcastle, their men's 8 just not firing on all cylinders. They were 5th in the E final yesterday, and compared to that today where they finished 10th in the time trial qualifying for the B final, they clearly have a better 4 comparatively than they do the 8. So let's see what Coach Dale and the team does there next. Into the finals, Newcastle University in 6:19. The benchmark for this event is London Rowing Club, same combination today as yesterday. So if I look at that, yesterday they did a 6:20. So today they're about 0.1 seconds off the win. So basically Newcastle would have won yesterday as well, is my summation. If we go off the extrapolation, and extrapolation is the word, right? The extrapolation of times from yesterday to today. This is not a precise science, but it is, however, interesting to see what might happen next. So, Coach Savarini up in Newcastle, let's see what happens with the Blue Star. Will Newcastle A, come Henley Royal Regatta, have 8 Blue Stars or 4 Blue Stars on blades? We shall see. Let's move on to other events. Women's quad, smaller entry. Today, 38 compared to 38 compared to 51 yesterday. The strong Molesey and Leander Club crews were absent, so that allowed Reading University to kind of rule the roost. Still quite a big delta between crews. So I made the comment yesterday that while we're seeing a larger entry here, which is really great, probably born about by the advent of a new event at Henley Royal Regatta, the depth and quality has still to happen. That was still the case today as well. But the trajectory is set, and over the next few years, I think we'll generally see the standard of women's crew sculling go up in this country, which is not bad, bearing in mind we're the Olympic champions in that event, right? So if we're going to get even faster, we'll be invincible, right? That'd be nice. Men's double. Foxwell and Matthews from Edinburgh University. I was very interested to see what they were going to do today. They did a 6:09 in the time trial compared to yesterday's winning time trial time of 6:28. So they seem to be a fairly strong combination. However, when I run the numbers, that's still only 92%. So it was pretty slow yesterday in the men's doubles for whatever reason. 92% is respectable, right, for a club event, but this is a championship event, and Foxwell and Matthews are both under 23 trialists. So, what's to be seen there. 6:34 in the final. There were no times yesterday, but Foxwell and Matthews with that 6:34 won today. It did look like they were much faster than the field yesterday, substantially ahead of the Skibbereen double and the Greenbank Exeter doubles that both raced yesterday. So it does seem like they would have won yesterday, but what does that mean in the big scheme of things? Because again, the GMTs yesterday weren't massively fast. I wonder what will happen with them. I think We often see at this time of year the likes of Pete Shepherd and the guys at Caversham looking at development boats, and whether the Edinburgh project in a double is going to have the potential and the pace to qualify and go through rounds at Henley and get the experience that the development double is going to want, because let's be honest, that they are not going to win the Double Sculls Challenge Cup, barring hey, what have I just done? Curse of the commentator. So maybe they will win the Double Sculls Challenge Cup, who knows, but it's unlikely given those times, right? Particularly when you look at how fast the Dutch were in Seville this weekend. Will we see Van Dorp and his doubles partner come to Henley Royal Regatta? Or will we see Shep work some of his magic, because Shep does tend to work magic, and stick Foxwell and Matthews into a combination in a quad, have a shot at the the Prince of Wales Challenge Cup, and see how far they can get in that event, because it's a really good development event, and clearly those athletes are highly promising. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next, basically. But the doubles, not super fast, but still great to watch, right? Let's not split too many hairs. What have I got for the women's doubles, which also took place in the morning? A couple of comparables here. Hendy from Skibbereen and Hempelman Adams from Leander Club both raced yesterday and today. 6:58 yesterday and 8 minutes yesterday respectively, and 7:36 and 7:38 today. So guess what? It's about 22 seconds faster today for the women's singles time trial. We look at where Baker of Reading University won yesterday. She did so in a 7:15. So let's look at Fullman today, who won the time trial with a really strong 7:20, and Rebecca Court, her fellow Bath teammate and PDA aficionado, 11 seconds back. Baker definitely would have won yesterday. Fullman had an absolute stormer of a row today, beating Court, but it probably wouldn't have been enough to beat Baker yesterday. And I think that probably goes by the form book, right? You know, Baker is a really, really strong athlete, very rangy rower, and is a world champion in the under-23 quads, right? So not a bad athlete. In the final, it was a PDA 1, 2, 3. So well done, Coach Selby. Well done, Fullman, Court for getting the 1-2. Ursi Fleming, so Coach Ben Welburn from Nottingham. Well done for that. So good to see those athletes doing well and quite close together. Looks like a good race from the times. Will be another one interesting to see what they do next. Last year there was a PDA Super Quad formed for the aspirational event at Henley Women's. Fleming was in that alongside Brooks from Leeds. So they won't be eligible to do that this year because they won it last year. But if you've got Fullman, Court, Fleming, you've then got Tolu, you've got Louise Brooks, you've got Simmons from Leeds, who's no slouch. There are a number of very strong female single scullers. And as Dan Harris, the chief PDA guru, likes to say, get the right experience at the right time. It seems like a good experience right now would be a stonkingly fast or a stonkingly developmental women's crew boat project to give these athletes a pretty amazing training stimulus and a bucket load of fun, right? Because it's always good to row with your mates. And last year they were able to win aspirational. Will they be able to move on again? Right, that concludes the morning. In the afternoon, men's eights. I mean, it's by and large the same thing, right? So I'm not going to focus on too much there. I don't think we saw anything particularly revolutionary other than to say lots of men's eights went rowing and racing, and some people won and some people didn't. In the men's quads, much smaller entry today, slower, around 8 to 10 seconds slower. The Irish topped the time trial with Galway, Skibbereen and Queen's, and then Reading University crews coming in 3rd, 4th and 5th, with Skibbereen winning in the final. So will we see a Skibbereen crew in the Prince of Wales? Maybe, probably, who knows? But I know the Irish champs are coming up, and there's clearly a lot of form crews going into that. In the women's coxless events, women's coxless fours. So yesterday I made the comment that it seems to be a bit slower than other women's sweep events, and I'm going to stand by that comment today. The women's event was won today in the same time trial time, so that's positive given that it's 8 to 10 seconds slower. And UCD won it, so positive for them. Again, an Irish crew form event. So only 19 today racing versus a lot more yesterday. And it just feels like the women's fours, there's so much focus on the women's eights right now, okay? So it just feels like there's less competition. So I wonder, how many of the women's eights, probably mainly in the club side of things, we might see move from what they're doing now into the women's fours. And just doing a bit of testing over the next couple of weeks, and it'll have to be the next few days really, to establish what they're going to stick in for Henley Women's Regatta. If, as I suspect, the women's coxless fours is a bit more of an open affair than the eights seems to be, maybe, dear viewer, if you are a coach or an athlete at one of the not performing eights clubs, maybe the four is a place to have a look. I haven't focused much else on the afternoon because I wanted to spend a bit of time culminating in what I think is a really great individual athlete story. And I had the privilege of coaching him a little bit last year. So forgive me if I may indulge for a moment and offer some congratulations to Ben Howard of Reading University Boat Club, Star Club last year. It is Ben's first year racing as a senior or an under 23. He was a junior last year and didn't have a great time of it in the trialling system. Moved a single really well, got in a double with another athlete, Isaac, I was coaching last year, and had a good long distance trial, but really struggled to convert that early season promise into performance and seat racing. And he had a torrid time at final trials. And as a coach, you never like to see it. Particularly when you see the potential that an athlete has. So Ben Howard, a picture of resilience, a picture of application. He's turned up this year looking like an absolute specimen. I don't know what he's been eating, but I suspect there's a lot of protein in it because he is absolutely stacked, and I think he's grown about 4 inches as well. Or I've shrunk. That's entirely possible. So Ben Howard wins the time trial for men's championship singles by 0.1 second over Ben Parsonage. Parsonage is no slouch. So a huge step on in performance from Ben, and I just want to say well done. And I'm really enjoying watching this emerging story. And again, well done to the Reading University programme for taking that athlete, giving them confidence, giving them the platform to springboard on from. I just love seeing things like that happen. Another athlete I want to speak about is Max Fullman, who went to the World Championships last year, World Under 18 Championships last year, in a development double with McCarthy from Tideway Scullers. He was racing in the championship event this year at Met Regatta, having done a quad yesterday. On the time trial, he did a 96.7% GMT of the under 19 time. So having had some struggles this year so far, and I understand there was a boat which didn't quite fit him, or he was just struggling to get it to run in the same way. I understand he's moved back into, I think, an F22, Felipe, only as recently as last week. But that seems to have done him some good, because he finished in a time trial time, which is highly respectable and fast enough to put him into the middle of the A final as well. An athlete I was surprised not to see in the A final was Morris from Leeds. He has committed to full-time training this year. Again, his first year racing as a senior. And perhaps unlike Howard, who's made a massive step on, Isaac didn't have the best row today. When you look at the gaps to athletes around him today, they are bigger than he would normally expect, or we would normally expect to see. So whether there was a bit of fatigue following the double that he raced yesterday, or just not targeting this event, who knows. But he is a strong individual who's off to Syracuse next year, and he is going to be one to watch. So continue to watch Isaac. In the final, Ben Howard got stuck in and was third after 500 metres, and then through the K and 1500 he was first. So that guy dropped the hammer early on. And then Ben Parsonage dropped the hammer in the final 500 because he won just ahead of Howard. Unfortunately, there were no times for whatever reason for the final, so I can't comment on how fast it was overall. But nevertheless, good to see Ben Howard doing what he's doing. He also had a good row yesterday in the quads. I think he finished third in championship quads. So good step on. Thulman did well as well, finishing in the mid-pack of the final with a 94.7%. And Morris went on to win the B final, so perhaps not having the time trial that we might have seen him set, he exerted that authority in the B final. So that's what I'm going to close on. I'm going to close on the fact that British sculling, men's sculling, is in rude health. British rowing's in rude health, right? We've got some absolutely stonking stories coming through, whether it be the Newcastle University Coxed 4, whether it be Katie Mole coming back to fitness, whether it be Ben Howard, whether it be Isaac. There's all these things coming through. So when we think about Project LA, which isn't that far away now, and Project Brisbane, which isn't that far away, we've got lots and lots of really promising athletes coming through the system who will contribute to Team GB for years to come. Meanwhile, us plebs cutting around in, cornfields, as I am, or Dorney and Nottingham and other places here in the UK, we get to enjoy an absolutely brilliant domestic calendar. We are now going to have a couple of weeks of a break to see what happens next. Scottish Championships is next weekend. Then there is Henley Women's Regatta. I think that's what's next. I'm losing track of things, but we're at the pointy end of the domestic season, right? So stick around. Let me know what you think I should go and cover, and let me know if you think there's any crews I should review, doing some technical analysis on this channel to tease apart themes that you would like to have done. Right, thank you very much indeed. You have a good evening. I'm going to go home now and probably watch some more rowing from Seville.